Shalom, sweetest friends. This week is Parshat Chukat, and I was thinking of orchestrating this video in a way where I'll first summarize. For those of you that can't listen to the whole thing, I'll just bring out the points quickly in about a minute or two, and if you'd like to learn with me, that's great, and afterwards I'll summarize it once again. So in this week's Parsha, we have the hitting of the rock. We have Moshe was supposed to speak to it. Hashem commanded him to speak, and instead he hit the rock. He basically demanded something out of the rock. And for that, Hashem tells him he's not going to be able to enter the land of Israel. There's no temple that's going to be built by him. Mashiach isn't going to come. And essentially, he ruined that relationship that he could have had. And furthermore, when he hit it, Rashi tells us, if you look in the Dibur Maskal of Pa'amayim, in Perek Chof, Pasuk Yud Aleph, so by Pa'amayim, Rashi says, Lo hitzi ella tipin, that it brought forth nothing but a few drops. In that first strike, nothing but a few drops came from it. And those few drops represent the toiling that we have to go through until this day because of Moshe's actions, which were reflective, obviously, the frustrations that he had with the people. But those actions that he had, that he took way back then, cause us to today extract only the drops of Torah that we have to toil over, and that cause immense machloket from every single drop of Torah. From every single drop, we have so much disagreement amongst Klal Yisrael, and there isn't a straight path, a sense of utter nourishment that comes by way of a gushing forth of Torah in our lives. It's a struggle. It's a constant struggle. And furthermore, I hope that I'll bring out the idea that as much as we do struggle, whenever we do get it, whenever we have that aha moment, or whenever we feel like utterly close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's purely a gift. It didn't come from our direct efforts. No love that we have in our life is as a result of our direct efforts. Every bit of satisfaction or love that we have is always a gift. And I remember Rabbi Akiva Tatz always saying, I love to tell this to people, that the concept of an idea, just the word idea in Yiddish, is an Einfalt. It fell into my mind. Yeah, I struggled, I worked at it, I did whatever, but at the end of the day, the reason I'm able to hold on to this idea is because it's an Einfalt. It fell in. It was a gift from Hashem. And hopefully also I'll be able to express the concept at the end of Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben Yosef represents that tzidkus, that utter righteousness, that steadfastness, the relationship that comes out of fear of Hashem, that we only want to do what's right, and we don't want to violate, we don't want to be punished. We are utterly sensitive to the needs and the wants of Hashem. And then Mashiach ben David is a pure gift from Hashem. It's a gift out of love. It's not as a result of anything in particular that we did. But Mashiach ben David comes because we are just being offered the chance to have a relationship with Hashem. Hashem going beyond his limits and granting us Mashiach ben David that paves the way, hopefully soon, for all of us to come. And within that time, we're all going to be equidistant from Hashem. There's not going to be a difference. Right now, someone's a little bit more of a tzaddik, someone's a little bit more of a rasha. There's going to be a circle drawn, and we're all going to be equidistant from Hashem, as represented by the circle, which I hope to describe furthermore in the shir. And I hope to be able to express that the love that we share, that we have, is really, really, really a gift from Hashem. It's never a right that we have, and it's never predictable. That's so important to realize, that we may be taking all sorts of steps in our lives to have love with those that we are trying to have an interpersonal relationship with, or to have love with the ultimate creator of the world, but it's never predictable when we have that. It's always a gift. Because really, love depends on too many things. Really, it depends on too many things that have to go just right, and we simply can't control it all. And the one key point that I really hope to bring out is that God's love happens by way of Him really expanding Himself, really expanding beyond our own constraints. That He comes in, even though we're undeserving. All those Yidden at the time in the Midbar, they were really undeserving of being granted the the great water. But at the end of the day, Hashem just wants to transcend and go beyond whatever our own constraints are. And similarly, I think that if we're to emulate Hashem and we're really to love other people, those others in our lives, of course we have expectations on others, but in order to love them, we have to transcend even those expectations. The limitations that we find in other people, if we're going to love them, we have to be able to transcend our own impression of those limitations, our own expectations of others. As Hashem, He transcends those expectations to ultimately grant us Mashiach ben David, and the Geula, that we will be utterly able to be in an embrace with Him. And it only comes through that transcendence of the expectation that He has on us, and that hopefully we have on others. And so the points that I hope to take, that people will take home, is really this: that if you force the relationship at any point, much like Moshe tried to force it by hitting that rock, you're going to have nothing really in the end. You may have something, but we'll express what that something is, because love is a gift, and therefore you have to speak. Speaking is a way of communicating. Hitting is not a form of communication. Demanding is not a form of communication. At the end, if you hit, if you demand, you may get the thing that you want. You may get a substance, but you're not going to ever get love. You're not going to ever reach the goal of a relationship. Hitting can only grant you a thing. Demanding can only grant you a thing. And love is intangible. We have to remember it's not a thing. And knowing that hopefully will cause us to use our words, to use our communicatory skills, to be able to engage one another b'nachas ruach, in a pleasant manner, have patience with one another, as Moshe was supposed to have patience, and the Geula could have come so soon. So if I may, I'd like to point out aspect of Chassidus that I learned from Rabbi Manis Friedman on this topic, and hopefully it'll shed light into this dichotomous relationship that people keep on seeming to have. They always have this fear and they have love, and they're constantly trying to juggle them. It's like, should I worship Hashem out of fear, out of a desire to not be punished, or should I just love Him for the sake of who He is and the grandiose idea of being in His embrace? And Rabbi Manis Friedman points out really that these are coming from the same point of sensitivity. After all, the Torah is just trying to make us the most sensitive people possible. Yet we're trying to engage in a relationship out of fear and love. And so they've got to come from the same point of sensitivity. And what is that point? I hope it doesn't sound too controversial, but when you worship Hashem out of fear, it means that you recognize that Hashem can cry. It means that you recognize that you have the power to cause Hashem pain. How awesome! You, little you, Shmedrik, can cause Hashem pain, infinite tears. That is utterly terrifying. If you want to know what fear is, I think that's pretty scary. And so, in our relationship with others, if we are to engage them both on a level of fear and love, it comes from that same point of sensitivity. To be in a relationship and approach it with fear, it can't be thinking about yourself. How can it possibly be your own fear of punishment? The moment that you're engaging in a relationship and worried about your own status, your own feeling, that's not a relationship. That's not what the Torah is doing. We went through all of Sfiras HaOmer, all those 7 attributes. They're all about a relationship towards another, being sensitive towards the feelings of another. If you're sensitive towards your own feelings, then that's not midos. That's not aspects of emotional relationship. That's not engaging it in the right way. Any moment that you're trying to learn and better emotions within a relationship has to do with bettering and understanding the feelings of another. And so when it comes to fear, it can't possibly mean fear of your own of your own punishment. Fear that you might have towards, being hurt and being scared. It can only be towards the damage that you could cause unto another. And so if you can recognize that you can punch a hole, so to speak, that you can cause damage to the Eibishter, that should utterly terrify you. That should cause you never to want to sin. And so that is what it means that when we first start off a relationship out of fear, we don't want to cause any pain. And then it ascends, the relationship builds, and it grows into a level of love where we are sensitive to all the things that cause someone to rejoice, to be happy. And I think it's very interesting when I see people who really act that way, whether it's with their spouse or their children. Are they operating on that first level? They just want nothing to go wrong. They want nothing to be, they don't want you to be hurt. And that is very important. They must have that first. And then it's so funny to see when people are really having relationships out of love, that they want to just see you happy, and everything that they're trying to do is really just to please you, just to put a smile on your face. And so I think that's a really, really important Hasidic point to take away, that fear and love are coming from the exact same place, the exact same point of sensitivity. They're a feeling about another. I'm afraid to cause you pain, and I want to cause you happiness. It's a sensitivity towards another. And so in that way, a very practical aspect is Lashon Hara. When everyone's saying, don't speak Lashon Hara, what, so that I'll get punished? No, don't speak Lashon Hara because of the pain you could cause to another person. When you're sensitive to that pain that you could cause somebody else, you're for sure going to hold back your words. You're going to enact that Gevura state within you. And so, hopefully we'll take away that the Torah is really all about making us the most sensitive people, that it's all about a relationship, and that I want to love you, I want to see you happy as much as I want to see you never cry, never experience any pain. And with that, I hope that we can continue and learn a little bit through the Parsha and some words of Chazal. And so if you guys have to go, that's all right, but let me take you through this for a little bit. So here we're going to explore Parshat Chukat, and it's in Perek Chaf that I'd like to focus, where Moshe was hitting the rock. I had read a little bit a moment ago about this Rashi, and it's so interesting that the Rashi on Pasuk Yud Aleph, where it says, Vayareh Moshe et yado, Moshe, he lifted his hand, Vayach et hasela b'matehu pa'amayim, and he hit the rock with his staff twice. And it's so interesting, Rashi, the Dibur Maskil really tells you a lot. That means the part that Rashi decides to expound on. He could have quoted the whole verse, he could have quoted more, but he quoted only the word pa'amayim. I just think that that's very interesting in terms of, he didn't quote Matehu, the staff, he didn't quote the rock, and he certainly didn't quote Vayach, which here is meaning to hit, from Lashon Hikah. And so I think that that's fascinating. It's maybe suggesting that it wasn't a problem that he hit the rock, because there was ample justification. If you look at what Rashi cites, he cites something from Shemot where they did hit the rock back there, but more so that he did it twice. Rashi is specifically quoting twice. And so I don't know if it's permission, so to speak, but we should be sensitive. We should realize that if we demand something from someone, if we, hit metaphorically, you should never hit someone, but if you hit someone, and they don't respond, just like the rock didn't respond, it only let out a few drops, as Rashi tells us. You don't hit it again. You don't yell at them again. Be sensitive that it didn't work that way. You're going to have to try a more patient approach. And so I think that that's what Rashi's getting at by just quoting the words pa'amayim, that the error here in Moshe was doing it twice. Maybe not even doing it once. Although Hashem did tell him to speak, but maybe through his own understandings of what that meant, it could have meant in a way to hit. But to hit twice, that was uncalled for. And so, really, we see Moshe hits the rock. He hits it twice. The first time it lets out a few drops, the second time gushing forth water. As a result of hitting this and not speaking, so there were drastic ramifications for Moshe and Aaron. Moshe and Aaron were not allowed to go into Eretz Yisrael. And it's said that if they went into Eretz Yisrael then, there would have been a temple. Moshe would have led them. It would have been a time of Mashiach. The temple would have never been destroyed. All of Jewish history would have changed as we know it. We would have had Mashiach. How phenomenal, how amazing. Never to have the temple be destroyed. And more was created from that hitting of the rock. So in a Sefer Sifsei Chaim, written by Rabbi Chaim Friedlander, so he speaks about, quoting the Zohar, what the drops represent. So the drops represent the toiling that we have to go through Torah. Torah is compared to water, much like water sustains our physical body. So Torah sustains our spiritual body. Spirituality and physicality. Water, physicality. Torah, spirituality. And so the Zohar says that because of the way that Moshe hit the rock, forevermore, Torah is going to be extracted in drops, drip by drip, drop by drop. And it's not going to be so simple. But for now, it looks like we are continuing to struggle. We've got those drip by drip, drop by drop points that we have to extract from Torah, and we're going to argue over them. That's the way that we can only incorporate Torah, because we're not at a time of Mashiach, when it will be a gushing forth, unequivocally known, the word of Hashem, unbelievably clear for us all to follow. And so, if we want to know how serious this is, it has ramifications in halacha. To say a halacha in front of one's Rebbe, so that is called morei halacha, that you're really defying your teacher. If you were to say something in contradiction, therefore one is liable to death. And that stems from those words of Moshe. The same morei is the same shimunah hamorei that he put forth into the world. Tzaddik has the ability to create reality, and that is the reality that we continue to live with to this day. So it was not for the fact that Moshe struck the rock, the Jewish people, they could just study the Torah and there wouldn't be any disagreements. We would all have it. It would be very straightforward, very clear. But now we have to put in a lot of effort. And are we going to reap the reward? Are we going to get the goal, the complete understanding? That's left up to Hashem. That's whether He gives us that gift or not. But it's not going to be a guarantee in any moment, in any daf that we struggle over, any pasuk that we see contradicts another. It's not simple that we'll have that clarity and be able to put it together. So the Gra points out that in a time of Mashiach, it's going to be clear. But for right now, it's not. And so there is a parish that he writes, the Gra wrote in Megillas Esther, that he describes what the time of Mashiach will be. The time of Mashiach will come, and Hashem's going to draw a circle, and all the tzaddikim will be around the circle. Hashem will be in the middle. And this is the type of relationship that Hashem hoped for. Hashem wanted us all to be like that circle, surrounded, equidistant from Him, having a close relationship with Hashem in the center, and we all around, and us all around. Easy access to Hashem, an equal view of Hashem, so that God, He'll show each and every one of us individually. He's individually going to bring us to that relationship, and it's going to flow naturally. Right now, the relationship doesn't seem to flow. We each have our own struggles in our relationship with the Ribono Shalom. So, if we look at the story of Moshe getting the command to speak to the rock, Moshe hitting the rock not once but twice, and then being told that he can't enter the land of Israel along with Aharon. So, what was really the error? Why did he strike the rock? And what does the striking represent? And what does speaking represent? So, Rabbi Chaim Friedlander, he explains that there's two ways of approaching a relationship with Hashem. You can do it out of fear, or you can do it out of love. And that fear would be that I'm afraid to break the will of Hashem. I'm afraid to do what Hashem, to violate the words of Hashem, to do what's displeasing to Hashem. I don't want any punishment. And that's the first and most important level of fear of enacting the relationship. And then the second one is a deeper one. It's about a relationship out of love, Avas Hashem. So you can have a child, let's say, who follows their parent out of fear of punishment. You can have a child that follows their parent out of just sheer love. And the same thing can happen between a teacher and a student, and all types of relationships in our life. So speaking, Hashem asked Moshe to speak, because speaking is an aspect that we can hold in this physical world that represents love, because it represents communication. It represents that harmony that happens between two people. Hitting does not. Hitting is unidirectional. Hitting is not communicative. And so speaking is having that relationship out of love, and that was the high level. That was what Hashem wanted. Hitting represents the relationship out of fear. And that's what Moshe saw. Moshe saw that the way Bnei Yisrael were complaining, they were living a relationship with Hashem out of judgment, out of din. It was in a gevuradik state, and that's what had Moshe react in such a way. So that was what hitting represented, and so we should all remember that really using our words, speaking, is the lashon of love, and not demanding and not hitting, but speaking, communicating clearly, and waiting for a response back. Patience is a very important part of speaking. Even those moments of silence are, it's talking about, reading between the lines, or, the space between the ink. That's an important part of communication. If there was no space between the ink, there was no distinction between one letter and another, we wouldn't have anything at all. The space is utterly important to recognize. And so sometimes we could say that it just needs a little bit of space. When Moshe hit the rock, if that wasn't a violation the first time, it certainly was the second time, because he afforded no space, no patience. And so the next point that I wanted to bring out was that really what Hashem was doing there was he saw the people complaining. We could say they had no right to do so. Hashem's been taking care of them up until now. All of a sudden Miriam dies, and you think that he's going to leave them high and dry, just get dehydrated, just starve, be parched, thirst isn't quenched? Come on. So they clearly had a very conditional relationship with Hashem. They thought that if they do this, they're going to get that. They didn't just realize that he's in their life for the long haul, forever. And so that reaction of the people certainly demonstrates that they were living a conditional relationship with Hashem. They were living a relationship out of fear, and they weren't on a plane of utter love. They didn't feel secure in the relationship. But what does Hashem do? Hashem nonetheless goes beyond that constraint that the people themselves put themselves in, and he wants to love them, and instructs Moshe to speak to the rock. He's going to give them seemingly that which they don't deserve. They've insulted Hashem, and yet he still only wants to give to them. And I want to impress upon you that aspect of Hashem. Hashem really only wants to give to us. I'm reminded by my Rebbeim that, when it came time for Yom Kippur, Hashem created Yom Kippur in order to forgive us. He wants to do it. All you have to do is step forward. We learn the story of Menashe, who was a very evil king, and he does a horrible teshuvah. After praying to a whole bunch of other gods. I'm not going to get into the story in such depth, but he screams out to Hashem, if you don't save me now, you're no different than anybody else. That's his teshuvah. It's not very nice, Our words are usually, God, you're so exalted, there's nobody like you, nobody compared to you. We're very complimentary in our teshuvah process. But he's just like, if you don't save me, you're no different. And Hashem saves him, and Hashem brings him back into the fold, and he's one with Hashem for the rest of the years of his life. I think it was 9 years or 15 years, something like that. That's amazing. You see the power of Hashem. He just wants to forgive. He transcends all boundaries, all constraints that you even put yourself in. You just have to call out to Him. And that's what the people did. They called out. It's a horrible way of calling out. And Hashem responds with love, with speak to the rock. And so that hopefully is a way for us to better understand how to incorporate love in our lives. That if we, even despite the way that someone else that's close to us, our family speaking to us, we still approach them with love. We rise above the constraints that they've put, that they've made for this relationship. And we go beyond that, surpass that, beyond the limitations. So I wanted to bring two seeming psukim that they might contradict with one another, and realize that what we're getting from Hashem really is a gift. That love of Hashem is purely a gift. So Rabbi Chaim, he brought down a point of Rav Dessler, who brought down the Zohar, that says, I'll say it in English a bit, but it says, Rabbi Yitzchak Patach, Rabbi Yitzchak says, Rabbi Yitzchak, he began, quoting a verse in Tehillim, Ivdu es Hashem b'yira v'gilu b'ra'ada. This is in Tehillim, Perek Beis. So if you want to look it up, it means serve Hashem with fear and rejoice with trembling. So one's obligated to serve Hashem with fear and rejoice with trembling. We're supposed to serve Hashem out of awe, within the fear. The worship of Hashem is going to happen out of fear, and then there's going to be rejoicing that takes place within that form of worship and servitude. We're going to start off with fear, but it's going to be a rejoiceful moment. Okay, so that's a little bit funny. We all have a very famous line. We love to sing it. It's in Tehillim again, Perek Kuf, and it goes, Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha, ba'u lefanav birnana. That serve the Lord, serve Hashem with joy, and come before Him with praise. So what are you supposed to do? What do? There's a serve Hashem out of love, serve Hashem out of fear. These psukim seem to contradict one another. So first, you're supposed to serve Hashem out of fear. Be afraid, be in awe. Hopefully the Hasidic interpretation that I started out with has you better understand what that means. But then, through the beginning of that way that we give honor to God, so then afterwards we're going to find the joy. And the verse itself in Perek and Beis tells us that in the awe you're going to find the joy. You're going to find the reason to rejoice. And so really even Perek Beis puts it together for us alone. But we have Perek Kuf, we have in Tehillim 100, we see that it says that you're going to worship Hashem with simcha, out of gladness, and you'll continue with that praise forever and ever. So this is why Moshe says to the Jewish people that the way to serve Hashem is out of fear, to start by respecting boundaries, that it starts with awe, it starts with fear, and it's going to grow and blossom into an unconditional, boundaryless love. But that's going to come out of a mere gift. So Rabbi Chaim, he really speaks these words quite beautifully, and I wrote down a translation to hopefully make it more clear. So it goes a little something like this. See from the Zohar that all of the person's work in his service of God is from the aspect of fear. But you want to get to serving God out of love, right? You can't get it directly. It's a gift from God. Serving Hashem out of love is like trying to enact the goal. Who enacts a goal? You receive a goal. You get to a goal. You reach a goal. You can't enact a goal because the relationship itself is the goal. You can't just have the love. You have the relationship because you can't touch love. You can't go for love. When you have a relationship with somebody else, how do I better explain this? So let's say you can't tell someone laugh, for instance. Laugh. No, you can't say laugh. You can say, I've got a joke. You could tell them a joke. You can elicit a laugh. You can't instruct somebody to laugh. So, if you want to laugh, you can't just have it. You've got to first tell them the joke. There's no direct and natural way for one to come from fear to love. This sounds almost impossible, in fact, right? You can't just draw a correlation. Do this, you get love. No. There's no direct and natural way to come to it. So in fact, we see that serving Hashem out of love is really a gift. The opportunity to serve Hashem out of love is a gift. Something that we should be so thankful for. We should scream Todah la Hashem. Amazing. This is only because the good graces of Hashem that we have this love, that we have this relationship in our life, that we can literally call ours. We can take possession of that relationship only by way of this gift from Hashem that He afforded to us. So as the Ramchal writes in Masilas Yesharim, this all starts with the service of Hashem and ends with something that is given as a gift. A person starts by putting his efforts, but in the end it results that he has not acquired the fruits of his labor. Rather, he just got a gift from above. So I basically, I'm asking you to please meditate on this concept. Please think about it. It's not a very simple thing to digest. We can hear it. I can just tell you, God's love for you is a gift. But to really, really think about it, spend time contemplating that the feelings you have, the opportunity you have, the state of the relationship, where it stands currently, this is a gift from Hashem. Because it doesn't have to be this way. And there's no direct correlation that the fact that you did all of these different things, it's beyond rational faculties, really. A relationship with Hashem is irrational, and that doesn't make it low. That makes it super high. It makes it super rational. And so if I could, I'll draw a parallel to Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David. At first, we really need to see ourselves as attaining, as working towards Mashiach. And that work and that involvement that Klal Yisrael takes to do diligently all the mitzvahs of Hashem, that is going to be epitomized in the time of Mashiach ben Yosef. Yosef is referred to Yosef HaTzadik. Doesn't falter, doesn't sin, does all the commands with purity. Pure consciousness, pure diligence, cares for every specific aspect about a mitzvah, does it with alacrity, never delaying, never withholding, and he doesn't fall down. He doesn't fall down to sin. But the second Mashiach, so I hope that we can better understand that the love that we have with Hashem, the love that we have with one another, is purely a gift. It can't be explained. And there are steps that we can take to get there that can really enhance our relationships. But that goal, the love, the laugh, that's a gift. There's no guarantee in that. And when you have it, cherish it. Hold it. Love just really depends on too many things fitting together at the right time, in the right place. You really can't control it all. And that's really my message to everyone. I'm going to give a quick summary again, as I did in the beginning, and hopefully that'll help encapsulate it all. So again, please remember that we can't force any relationship. If you try to force it, you're going to have nothing. You'll be left with nothing. Love is a gift, and therefore, speak. Don't hit. Don't demand. You won't get anything that way. You may get a thing, a substance, something physical in this world, but you won't get love, because love is intangible. You can only get that through communication, through speaking, through understanding, through patience. Space between the ink. Space between the lines. The time between the words. So if I may, I'd like to propose this Hasidic approach of Rabbi Manis Friedman when it comes to fear and love. Because fear doesn't have to be in direct opposition to love. It can exist, and it certainly does stem from the same point of sensitivity. If someone is in fear of a relationship, they're living in fear of punishment, they're living really in themselves. They're conceited, they're selfish. They don't want to be punished. They don't want to feel their own pain. But that's not what being in a relationship and enacting fear in the Jewish way means. It means that you are afraid to cause pain to another. You never want to see the tears of another. You never want Hashem to go through pain. You never want Hashem to cry. That is the same point of sensitivity that we get when we talk about love. If you love someone for the way you feel when you act, for the way you feel when you see them smile, then you're just in love with yourself, but through another person. So hopefully the Torah and these lessons help us to be in love with another by being sensitive more and more each day. As time goes on, the level of fear should only grow. We should only yearn to not want them to experience any moment, any bit of pain more and more each day. We should only want to see them smile more and more each day. In that way, there's a fusion of Yira and Ahava. And so, this is practically how we can take it in our lives. That you don't want to cause Lashon Hara, not because it's the worst of all sins and it's going to make you lose Olam Haba. That's you enacting this mitzvah or restraining yourself for the sake of you. But don't do it because it could cause pain to another person. Why would you ever want to cause pain to another person? And when that level of sensitivity grows and grows and grows, your gevura, your level of fear is going to grow and grow and grow. And that's not terrifying, but it is, right? It's not terrifying. You're not living a life where you're afraid of being punished, but you're living a life where you're afraid of hurting another person. And that's the sweetest, kindest thing of all. So the Torah is really about making us more and more sensitive every day. We should always remember that. And that with the understanding that it really is all about a relationship, know that as much as I want to love you, as much I want to fear you. I want to see you never cry. I want to see you never sad. Don't ever experience pain. And with that, I hope that we take these lessons not just for this Shabbos, not just for next week, but through all time, and with the hand of Moshe, with us directing our hearts towards Hashem in a way that we recognize the gift of love that we have from Him, that He expands beyond all limitation. Let us also expand beyond our own limitations and love all of those in our lives just as much. Have a great Shabbos.
תודה לך, תודה לך, תודה לך כלי הולך איתך ורק איתך לא יכול בלי תודה לך על חושך ויאללה אור הטוב תודה לך, אתה תמיד קרוב תודה לך על שמש בשמיים בכל יום על אהבה המלווה לכל מקום תודה לך על הניסים ויאללה טבע גם מודה אני מלך חי וקיים תודה, תודה לך השם הלב דורש ומבקש על מה שיש לו Hashem. Toda, toda lecha Hashem. Halev doresh umevakesh al ma sheyesh lomar. Toda, toda, toda lecha Hashem. Kol hanshama tehallelka, היא מחכה רק לשיר תודה. תודה, תודה לך Hashem. הלב דורש ומבקש על מה שיש לומר. תודה, תודה, תודה לך Hashem. כל הנשמה תהללך, היא מחכה רק לשיר תודה. For every day you give to me my future and my history. תודה לך, cause you're the music and the rhyme, you're the rhythm and the time. תודה לך. I know that there's a reason and a planet, so I try the best I can to make you proud. So all the friends I made along the way, let me hear you sing it out loud. Toda, my thanks to you, my life is all from you. The light is you, the darkness too. You. Toda, my thanks to you, my life is love for you. Though I am small, I hear your call that you love me too. Toda, my thanks to you, my life is all from you. The ones I love, are gifts of love from you. The tears I've cried